Hey guys, Pastor Burton here, and it's time for you to grab that mug of pumpkin spice or whatever other coffee you happen to be drinking because it's time for a coffee break in the Bible. And today I'm going to be reading from Ephesians chapter 1, verse 18. And the word says, "The eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints." Of course, today I'm reading from the King James Version. What's he speaking of, though? Well, the Apostle Paul, he's praying that the eyes of your heart be enlightened, right? Why the eyes of your heart, though? Well, that's such a specific thing to be looking at. And the answer itself is actually real easy. And it's because the word tells us in several places, several times, that the heart, above all things, is deceitful, right? So it is the heart. It's not just the mind, but our hearts. And that's why I love the song so much. It says, "Open the eyes of my heart, Lord." Because our hearts are tend to be one of the strongest things that we follow, one of the things that we want to listen. People want to say the heart wants what the heart wants. But we have to be very careful. So that's why Paul wants the heart to be enlightened. Open the eyes of my heart. Because we need to have clear minds and we need to have open hearts in order to understand and to be able to grab onto the truth that is our hope in Jesus. It's that hope means more than just some relative assurance that we're going to have a good future. It's a certainty, and it's knowing that God is going to do everything that he's promised. And it is a promise. We see time and time again God's promises being fulfilled in the Word and throughout history. You don't even have to go into the Bible. You can go into historical books and historical text to find just that. We just have to be a little patient. Psalm 119, verse 18 puts it like this: "Open thou mine eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of thy law." Remember, Jesus didn't come to do away with the law, but to fulfill it. Laws are there for a reason. Without laws, there is no sin. Sin, broken down to its simplest terms, is breaking the law, God's law. And since Jesus didn't come to do away with that, we need to stop listening to our hearts when it's telling us to do those deceitful, evil things. Those times when maybe you want to tell a white lie, or you want to lay on the gas a little more than you should on the highway. That's one thing with the American Legion Writers chapter, especially with our leadership right now. We have some great leadership that reminds everybody, says, "Hey, no, we're out there. We have these vests on. We have these colors. We're representing something important. People look to us as veterans. We've been called the cream of the crop, right? People love veterans, but they look to us, and we still are looked to set an example. Well, you know what? It's no different in our spiritual life. So we need to slow down. We need to pull away from those things that are just so tempting and recognize them for what they truly are, and that is traps set by the evil one, temptations, in other words. So we need to work to make sure that it's not just our minds, but our hearts that are open. Because when we feel the hurt, that hurt isn't coming from our minds. It's coming from our heart. When we feel, the Lord at work, that when we feel that conviction from the Holy Spirit in our lives saying, "Hey, you're doing something wrong," where do we feel it? We feel it in our hearts. It impacts us emotionally and spiritually, not just mentally. So take that today and reflect on it. Today, that is our coffee break. Enjoy that coffee, get a refill, and have a joyous day. God bless.